The mop hit the floor with a wet slap. Roy Fletcher wiped sweat from his forehead and glanced at his watch. 2 in the morning. Another 4 hours before his shift ended at the new Terra research facility. The building stretched for miles underground, full of laboratories where scientists poked at alien artifacts and studied creatures from distant worlds. Roy preferred the night shift. No chattering scientists, no supervisors breathing down his neck. Just him, his cleaning cart, and the endless hallways. He had worked here for 3 years now, ever since he left the military and wanted nothing more than peace and quiet. His cart squeaked as he pushed it down Corridor 7, the xenobiology wing. This section always made him uncomfortable. Behind the thick glass walls, strange creatures floated in tanks or slept in specially designed habitats. Some looked beautiful. Others looked like nightmares. Roy never stayed longer than needed. He was halfway through mopping when he heard it. A soft whimper. Like a kitten in pain, Roy stopped. The sound came from somewhere ahead near the storage closet at the end of the hall. He gripped his mop handle tighter and moved forward slowly. The facility had security, sure, but strange things happened in places like this. Things that never made it into official reports. The whimpering grew louder. Roy reached the closet and pressed his ear against the door. Something was definitely inside. Something alive. He pulled out his keycard. His hand shook slightly as he swiped it. The lock clicked. Roy pushed the door open and raised his mop like a weapon. Inside the dark closet, wedged between boxes of supplies, was a creature no bigger than a house cat. It had scales that shimmered like oil on water, changing colors in the dim light. 2 small wings lay folded against its back. Its eyes were huge and amber-colored, filled with tears. Roy froze. He had seen a lot of alien creatures in his time here, but nothing like this. The creature looked up at him. Its mouth opened, revealing tiny, sharp teeth. Then it spoke. The voice was high and trembling, speaking in broken galactic standard, the language most species used across the stars. "Please, may I stay here tonight?" Roy nearly dropped his mop. The creature spoke. It understood language. It was intelligent. What are you?" Roy whispered. The creature pulled itself into a tighter ball. Fresh tears rolled down its scaled face. "They hunt me. I escape. Please, one night." "Just one night." "Then I go." Roy looked over his shoulder. The hallway was empty. His mind raced. This was wrong on so many levels. Harboring an unauthorized life form could get him fired, maybe even arrested. The Hegemony Consortium, the powerful group that funded half the research here, had strict rules about this kind of thing. But the creature looked so small, so scared. Roy made a decision he would question for weeks to come. He took off his jacket and spread it on the floor. "Get in. Don't make a sound," the creature blinked. "You help me?" "Before I change my mind." "Come on." The creature crawled onto the jacket. Roy wrapped it carefully and tucked it under his arm. It weighed almost nothing. He could feel its heart beating rapidly through the fabric. Roy finished his shift on autopilot. His mind kept wandering to the bundle under his arm. What was he doing? What was this creature? Why was it running? At 6 in the morning, Roy clocked out and headed for the transport station. His apartment was 3 miles away in the residential sector, a small studio that cost half his paycheck. But it was his. Inside his apartment, Roy laid the jacket on his bed and unwrapped it. The creature looked up at him with those huge amber eyes. "Thank you," it whispered. "Thank you, human." Roy grabbed his first aid kit from the bathroom. Up close, he could see the creature was injured. Burns on its wings. Cuts on its legs. Someone had hurt this thing. Badly. "I am Roy," he said slowly. "What are you called?" The creature thought for a moment.
"My name?"
"Difficult to say in your language. You may call me Starwing." "That is close enough." "Starwing?" Roy nodded. "Okay, let me see those wounds." For the next hour, Roy cleaned and bandaged the injuries as best he could. Starwing winced but never cried out. "Tough little thing, what happened to you?" Roy asked as he worked. Starwing was quiet for a long moment. "You know what I am?" "No. I am Draconis Stellaris, Dragon of Stars. My kind. We died long ago, all gone. But humans found our genetic material, our DNA. They brought us back." Roy felt cold. "The Hegemony?" Starwing nodded. 12 of us they made. In laboratory. But it was not kindness. They hurt us, study us, try to take our memories, our knowledge. 11 of my brothers and sisters died, Only I survive. Only I escape. Roy sat back on his heels. This was worse than he thought. The hegemony was powerful. If they wanted Starwing back, they would do anything to get it. They will find you eventually, Roy said. You know that. Yes, but maybe I live one more day. Maybe two. That is all I ask. Then I disappear. You never see me again. Roy looked at the small dragon curled on his bed. Its scales had stopped shimmering and turned a dull gray. The color of exhaustion, of trauma. He thought about his old squad, his friends who died because he trusted the wrong people. He thought about the quiet life he built to escape those memories. Safe, simple, alone. You can stay longer than one night, Roy heard himself say. Starwing looked up sharply. You mean this? I do. But we need rules. You stay hidden during the day. No going near windows. No making noise. If anyone asks, I live alone. Understand? Starwing's eyes filled with tears again. But this time they looked different. Why you help me? You do not know me. Roy smiled for the first time in months. Because someone should. And because right now you need help more than I need safety. Starwing crawled across the bed and pressed its small head against Roy's hand. Roy felt something then. A warmth spreading through his chest. Not physical warmth. Something deeper. A connection. You are guardian now, Starwing whispered. That is highest honor my kind can give. Roy gently stroked the dragon's head. The scales felt warm and smooth under his fingers. Get some sleep, Starwing. You are safe here. As Starwing curled into a ball and closed its eyes, Roy wondered what he had just gotten himself into. He looked at his small apartment. His quiet life, his careful routine, all of it was about to change, and somehow Roy was okay with that. 3 weeks passed like a strange dream. Roy stood in his tiny kitchen making breakfast. Behind him, Starwing sat on the counter, watching everything with intense curiosity. The dragon had grown comfortable in the apartment. Too comfortable, maybe. You cannot sit there when I am cooking, Roy said without turning around. You will get burned. Starwing made a chittering sound that Roy had learned meant disagreement. I am careful. I watch only. Last time you watched, you knocked over my coffee pot trying to see inside it. That was accident. Roy cracked eggs into a pan. Starwing had recovered quickly from the injuries. The burns healed. The cuts disappeared. Even the dull gray color of the scales returned to their shimmering rainbow effect. The dragon was eating well too, mostly raw fish and vegetables. Roy's food budget had doubled, but the physical recovery was the easy part. Starwing still woke up screaming most nights. The dragon's telepathic abilities, which had been dormant in the laboratory, were returning. And with them came nightmares. Roy divided the eggs onto 2 plates. One for him, one for Starwing. The dragon preferred cooked food now, after trying Roy's cooking. Another sign of adaptation. They ate in silence. Roy had learned that Starwing needed quiet in the mornings. Too much noise too early brought back memories of the laboratory, where machines beeped and hummed constantly. After breakfast, Roy cleaned up while Starwing explored the bookshelf. The dragon had become fascinated with human books. Could not read them yet, but loved looking at pictures. Roy, Starwing said suddenly. Tell me about your squad. Roy's hands froze in the dishwater. He had told Starwing bits and pieces about his past. But not everything. Never everything. Why do you want to know? Because you have nightmares too. I feel them. Through the bond. Roy dried his hands slowly. The bond. Starwing had explained it once. When a Draconis Stellaris accepted someone as guardian, a telepathic connection formed. Weak at first, but growing stronger with time. Roy sat on the couch. Starwing flew over and landed beside him. The dragon's flying had improved. The wings were getting stronger. 20 years ago, Roy began. I was a military engineer, part of a small unit. We specialized in fixing equipment in dangerous locations. My squad was like family. 7 people I trusted with my life. Starwing pressed closer to Roy's leg. Listening. We were sent to a mining station on the edge of hegemony space. Corporate dispute. Our job was simple. Fix the communication array, get out. But someone high up had other plans. They wanted the station destroyed. Evidence eliminated, so they sabotaged our mission. Roy's voice grew quieter. The explosion killed everyone but me. I was in a different section when it happened. I tried to save them, pulled 3 bodies from the wreckage before the structure collapsed. But they were already gone. Starwing made a soft humming sound. Roy had learned this meant sympathy, comfort. After that, I left the military. Took the first quiet job I could find. Became a janitor. No responsibility. No lives depending on me. Just mops and buckets until you find me, Starwing said softly. Until I found you. They sat together in silence. Outside, the sun rose higher. Roy would need to sleep soon. His shift started at midnight. Roy, Starwing said. I feel others. Roy looked down at the dragon. Others, what do you mean? My brothers and sisters. 3 of them. They live still. In other facilities. Other laboratories. I feel them through the bond. Roy's chest tightened. Are you sure? Yes, they call out in dreams. They are alone, scared like I was. Roy ran a hand through his hair. This changed everything. 1 dragon he could maybe hide. Maybe protect, but 4? That was impossible. Where are they? Starwing closed its eyes. The scales flickered with dim light. 1 is close. Same planet. Different facility. 2 others are far. Different worlds. I cannot see exact locations. Only feelings. Only pain. Roy stood and paced. His mind raced. This was bigger than he thought. The hegemony was not just experimenting on Starwing. They had a whole program. Creating dragons. Torturing them. Trying to extract whatever knowledge the ancient species held. We need help, Roy said. I cannot do this alone. Who would help? Humans fear the hegemony. Roy thought about his old contacts. Most were dead or retired. But there was one person. Someone who owed him a life debt, Diana Brooks. Old friend from my military days. She runs a freighter now. Smuggling, mostly. If anyone can help, it is her. Starwing tilted its head. You trust this, Diana? With my life. Roy pulled out his communication device. An old military model. Encrypted. Untraceable. He had kept it all these years. Never thinking he would need it again, he typed a message. Short. Simple. Using code words only Diana would understand. Cleaning job available. Multiple locations. Interested? The response came 3 minutes later. How many locations? 3, possibly 4. Payment? Roy smiled. Diana never worked for free. Saving lives. Plus you still owe me for Station Kilo. A longer pause. Then meet me at usual spot. 2 hours. Roy pocketed the device. Stay here. Do not leave the apartment. Do not make noise. Understand? Starwing looked worried. Where you go? To get help. To start planning. If we are going to save your siblings, we need resources. A ship, equipment, maybe weapons. You will come back. Roy knelt down and looked Starwing in the eyes. I promise. I will always come back for you. Starwing pressed its forehead against Roy's hand. The warmth spread through Roy's chest again. The bond pulsing with trust and gratitude. Roy grabbed his jacket and headed for the door. But Starwing called out again. Roy. Why humans protect those who cannot protect themselves? Roy paused at the doorway. It was a good question, one he had asked himself many times. Because that is what makes us human. We choose who we become. We choose to help. Even when it is hard. Even when it is dangerous. That choice matters more than anything else. Starwing nodded slowly. Your kind is strange, but also beautiful. Roy left the apartment and caught a transport to the old docks. The meeting spot was a maintenance bay that had been abandoned for years. Diana used it sometimes when she needed to lay low. She was already there when Roy arrived. Tall, dark skin, gray streaks in her hair that had not been there 20 years ago. But the same sharp eyes. The same confident stance, Roy Fletcher, Diana said. I thought you were dead. Might as well have been. Until recently, they shook hands. Diana looked him up and down. You look like hell. What trouble did you find? Roy told her everything. About Starwing. About the hegemony experiments. About the 3 other dragons waiting to be rescued. Diana listened without interrupting. When Roy finished, she was quiet for a long moment. This is suicide, she finally said. You know that, right? The hegemony will hunt you across the galaxy. I know. You will lose everything. Your job, your home, maybe your life. I know, Diana smiled. Good. Just wanted to make sure you understood the stakes. Now let us talk about how we pull off the impossible. They spent the next hour planning. Diana had connections, access to equipment, a ship that could outrun most hegemony vessels. But it would take time, weeks, maybe months. First, Diana said, we need to find out exactly where these other dragons are. Can your little friend pinpoint locations? Maybe, with time. Then we start there. Meanwhile, I will gather supplies, recruit a small crew. People I trust. People who hate the hegemony as much as we do. Roy felt hope for the first time in weeks. This might actually work. But as he left the meeting and headed home, Roy noticed something. A small drone, hovering near the transport station. Watching him, his blood went cold. The hegemony was already looking. The drone disappeared before Roy could get a clear look at it. He walked faster toward his apartment building, trying not to look suspicious. His heart pounded. Had they seen him with Diana? Did they know about Starwing? Roy reached his door and fumbled with the key card. His hands shook. Inside, Starwing was waiting on the couch, reading a children's book with pictures of Earth animals. You are afraid, Starwing said immediately. I feel it. Roy locked the door and checked the windows. Everything looked normal, but normal meant nothing anymore. We may have a problem, Roy said. He told Starwing about the drone. The dragon's scales flickered from rainbow colors to dark purple. Fear. They found us? I do not know, maybe not. But we need to be more careful. Roy spent the next few hours building something from spare parts he had collected over the years. Old military habits died hard. He still kept equipment, just in case. Starwing watched with fascination as Roy assembled a signal dampener. Basic design, nothing fancy, but it would block most tracking devices and scanners. How you know to make this? Starwing asked. Military training. I learned to build things and break things, the dampener hummed to life. Roy placed it in the corner of the apartment. A small blue light blinked steadily. This will help, Roy said, but it is not perfect. If they search building by building, they will find you eventually. Starwing hopped onto the table. The dragon had grown slightly bigger in 3 weeks. About the size of a medium dog now. Still small. Still vulnerable. Maybe I should leave, Starwing said quietly. Keep you safe. You have done enough. No. Roy's voice was firm. We stay together. We find your siblings. We get everyone out. That is the plan. But you risk so much, and you risked everything to escape. We are in this together now. Starwing looked at Roy with those huge amber eyes. Why you changed mind? At first you say I stay one night. Now you plan impossible rescue. What happened? Roy sat down heavily. Good question. What had happened? 3 weeks ago he wanted nothing more than peace and quiet. Now he was planning to fight the most powerful organization in the galaxy. You happened, Roy said simply. You made me remember why I became a soldier in the first place. Not to follow orders, but to protect people who needed protection. I forgot that after my squad died. I thought keeping myself safe was enough, but it is not. It never was, Starwing chirped softly. You are strange human, Roy Fletcher. So I have been told. A knock at the door made them both freeze. Roy quickly gestured for Starwing to hide. The dragon flew into the bedroom and disappeared into the ventilation shaft Roy had modified. They had practiced this drill a dozen times. Roy checked the door viewer. A man in a black suit stood outside. Corporate security badge, hegemony symbol on his collar. Roy's mouth went dry. He considered not answering. But that would look suspicious. He opened the door a crack. Yes? The man smiled, cold, professional. Mr. Fletcher? I am Agent Hayes, Hegemony Compliance Division. May I come in? I am about to sleep. Night shift, you understand. This will only take a moment. Roy had no choice. He opened the door wider. Agent Hayes stepped inside, his eyes immediately scanning the apartment. Looking for something. Anything unusual? Nice place, Hayes said. Small but clean. I'm a janitor. Cleanliness is my job. Hayes walked slowly around the room. He stopped at the bookshelf. Picked up a book. Put it down. Moved to the kitchen. Opened a cabinet. Closed it. Mr. Fletcher, do you know why I am here? No idea. 3 weeks ago, something went missing from the research facility where you work. Something very valuable. Very dangerous. Roy kept his face neutral. I clean floors. I do not handle research materials. Of course not. But you have access to many areas. Areas most people never see. That is true. Hayes turned to face Roy directly.
Have you seen anything unusual during your shifts?
Any strange sounds? Movement? Anything at all? The whole facility is unusual. Aliens everywhere. Strange machines. I learned to ignore it. Hayes smiled again. That same cold smile. You are a veteran. Military engineer. Decorated for bravery. Then you disappeared. Became a janitor. Why? I wanted peace. Peace. Hayes said the word like it tasted bad. Men like you do not want peace, Mr. Fletcher. Men like you want purpose, duty, something to fight for. Roy said nothing. Hayes walked to the window, looked out at the city. If you see anything unusual, anything at all, you contact me immediately. He placed a card on the table. The hegemony rewards cooperation and punishes obstruction. Remember that. I will remember. Hayes left without another word. Roy stood frozen for a full minute after the door closed. Then he locked it, put the security chain on, drew the curtains. Starwing emerged from the ventilation shaft. That was close, too close. They are looking for you. Really looking. What we do now? Roy pulled out his communication device. Sent another message to Diana. Timeline moved up. Need to leave soon. Possibly days, not weeks. Diana's response was immediate. Understood. I will be ready. Roy looked at Starwing. Can you locate your siblings? I need exact coordinates. Starwing closed its eyes. The scales began to glow, soft at first, then brighter. The dragon's breathing slowed, deepened. Roy had seen this before. Starwing entering a telepathic trance. It was exhausting for the dragon, but necessary. Minutes passed. Starwing's body trembled with effort. Then the dragon's eyes snapped open. I have them. 2 locations clear. Third one is fuzzy, hard to read. Tell me. Starwing described the locations. The first was on New Terra, only 50 miles away, an underground laboratory run by hegemony scientists. The second was on a mining station called Deep Rock 7. 3 days' travel by fast ship. The third location was unclear, somewhere in the outer colonies. Starwing could only sense pain and darkness. Roy wrote everything down, sent the information to Diana. The close one, Roy said. We hit that first. Get your sibling out. Then we run for Deep Rock 7. When? Tomorrow night. During my shift. I know the facility layout. I know the security patterns. We have one advantage. They think I am just a janitor. Starwing looked worried. This is very dangerous. Yes, but staying here is more dangerous. Hayes will come back. Next time with a warrant. Or a weapon. We need to move first. They spent the rest of the day preparing. Roy gathered his old military gear from a storage unit he had kept. Body armor, tools, a small plasma cutter. Nothing illegal, but useful. Starwing practiced flying in the apartment, building stamina. The dragon would need to fly fast and far tomorrow night. As evening approached, Roy cooked dinner. They ate together quietly, both knowing this might be their last peaceful meal for a long time. Roy, Starwing said, if something happens to me, if I am captured, you must leave me. Save yourself. Save the others. That is not going to happen. Promise me. Roy looked at the small dragon, this creature who had trusted him completely, who had changed his entire life in 3 weeks. I promise I will do everything possible to keep you safe. That is the only promise I can make. Starwing accepted this. That is enough. That night, Roy did not sleep. He checked his equipment, reviewed the facility blueprints, memorized guard rotations, planned 3 different escape routes. Starwing dozed fitfully on the couch. The dragon's scales flickered between colors: fear, determination, hope. At 11 p.m., Roy's communication device buzzed. Message from Diana. Ship ready. Crew assembled. Waiting at docking bay 7. Do not get yourself killed, Roy. I still need you. Roy smiled. Diana always knew what to say. He strapped on the body armor under his janitor uniform, loaded his tools into the cleaning cart. Starwing crawled into a hidden compartment Roy had built in the cart's base. Comfortable? Roy asked. No, but I survive. Roy pushed the cart out of his apartment, into the hallway, toward the transport station, toward the research facility, toward whatever came next. As they traveled through the quiet streets, Roy thought about his old squad, about the people he failed to save. This time would be different. This time he would not fail. The research facility looked different at night. Roy pushed his cleaning cart through the main entrance. The security guard barely looked up. Just another janitor starting another shift. Nothing unusual, But inside the cart's hidden compartment, Starwing waited, silent, barely breathing. The dragon had learned to control its fear, to stay completely still when necessary. Roy took the elevator down to sub-level 3. This was where the unauthorized experiments happened. The projects nobody talked about. The ones that did not appear in official records. The elevator doors opened. Roy pushed his cart into the corridor. Empty. Good. Most scientists went home at night. Only skeleton crew remained, and they stayed in the observation rooms watching monitors. Starwing had described the location. Cell Block 7, Room 12, deep underground, behind 3 security doors. Roy had his janitor access card. It opened most doors, but not everything. Some areas required higher clearance. He would need to improvise. He reached the first security door, swiped his card. Green light. The door hissed open, 1 down, 2 to go. Roy moved carefully down the next corridor. His heart pounded. Any moment someone could appear. Question what he was doing in this section. He had prepared a story. Spill in Cell Block 7. Needed immediate cleaning. But stories only worked if people believed them. The second security door was different. Biometric scanner. Retinal scan required. Roy stopped. This was a problem. His card would not work here. He pulled out his plasma cutter. Small, precise, used for delicate repair work, but also useful for bypassing electronic locks. Roy removed the wall panel next to the door, found the security circuit, carefully cut 3 specific wires, spliced them together in a pattern he remembered from military training. The door beeped, then clicked open. Roy held his breath. No alarms, no guards running. Just silence. He pushed his cart through quickly. Replaced the wall panel. Made it look undisturbed. Inside the cart, Starwing whispered. Close now. I feel my sibling. Scared. In pain. Almost there. Roy whispered back. The third door was the hardest. Maximum security. Armed guards standing outside. Wide awake. Alert. Roy could not bypass this one. He would need to be direct. He pushed his cart toward the guard. Tried to look bored. Tired. Just another janitor doing his job. The guard held up a hand. This area is restricted, I know. Got called down for an emergency. Spill in Cell Block 7. Hazardous materials. The guard frowned. I did not receive notification. Check your system. Supervisor Richards called it in 10 minutes ago. The guard pulled out his tablet, checked the work orders. Found nothing, of course, because Roy had lied. There is no work order here. Roy sighed dramatically. Richards probably forgot to file it again. That guy is useless. Look, I can call him if you want. Wake him up. Make him come down here and file the paperwork properly. Or you can just let me in. I clean up whatever mess is in there and we both go home on time. The guard hesitated. Roy could see the calculation happening. Wake up a supervisor over paperwork. Deal with an angry boss. Fill out incident reports. Or just let the janitor through. Do the easy thing? Fine, the guard said. But make it quick. He swiped his card. The door opened. Roy pushed his cart through before the guard could change his mind. The door closed behind him. Roy was alone in Cell Block 7. The corridor stretched ahead. Doors on both sides. Each one marked with numbers. Roy found Room 12. Through the small window he could see inside. A cage, small, barely big enough for the creature inside. Another dragon, slightly smaller than Starwing. Its scales were dull red like old blood. Burns covered its body, fresh ones. Someone had been hurting this dragon recently. Roy swiped his card. The door opened. He stepped inside. The dragon looked up, eyes full of fear. It tried to back away, but there was nowhere to go. Easy, Roy said softly. I am not here to hurt you. He opened the cart compartment. Starwing crawled out, spreading its wings. The red dragon stared, then made a sound. A chirp. A cry of recognition. Starwing chirped back. The 2 dragons pressed their heads together. A moment of reunion, of relief. We need to move fast, Roy said. He examined the cage lock. Electronic, complex. He pulled out the plasma cutter again. While he worked, Starwing communicated with the other dragon. Telepathically, Roy could feel the bond pulsing, information flowing. The lock finally gave way. The cage door swung open. The red dragon stumbled out, weak, malnourished, but alive. Can you fly? Roy asked. The red dragon tried to spread its wings. They trembled, barely moved. Too weak, Starwing translated. Needs time, Roy checked his watch. They had been inside for 8 minutes, too long. He needed to move. He grabbed a blanket from his cart, wrapped the red dragon carefully. The creature was light, frighteningly light. Both of you in the cart. Now. Starwing hesitated. Not enough room. Make room. We cannot walk out of here with 2 dragons in my arms. Starwing crawled back into the hidden compartment. The red dragon followed. They pressed together, tight, uncomfortable, but hidden. Roy closed the compartment. Arranged cleaning supplies on top. Made everything look normal. He stepped out of room 12. Started pushing the cart back toward the exit. The guard was still there. Looking at his tablet, bored. Roy walked past him without a word. The guard glanced up. That was fast. Small spill. Easy cleanup. The guard nodded and went back to his tablet. Roy kept walking. Through the 3rd door. The 2nd door. His hands shook. His legs felt weak. But he kept moving. 1 foot in front of the other. At the first security door, an alarm went off. Roy froze. Red lights flashed. A siren wailed. Throughout the facility, automated voices announced, "Security breach in cell block 7. All personnel to stations. Lockdown initiated." The door ahead of Roy slammed shut. Magnetic locks engaged. He was trapped. No, 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 Roy muttered. He pulled out the plasma cutter. Tried to bypass the lock. But these doors were different. Reinforced. Made for exactly this situation. Behind him, running footsteps. Guards, many of them. Roy looked at his cart. At the hidden compartment where 2 dragons waited. Trusting him. Depending on him, he had promised to protect them. Promised to get them out. Time for improvisation. Roy pulled out a small device from his pocket. A military-grade electromagnetic pulse generator. He had kept it for years. Never thought he would use it. He activated the device and threw it down the corridor. Behind him. Toward the approaching guards. The EMP went off with a bright flash. Every electronic system within 30 feet died. Lights, cameras, door locks, including the reinforced door ahead of Roy. He pushed his cart through before backup systems could engage. Sprinted for the elevator. His cleaning cart bounced and rattled. Inside, the dragons made small sounds of distress. "Hold on," Roy said. "Almost there." The elevator doors opened. Roy pushed the cart inside. Hit the button for ground level. The elevator rose. Too slowly. Roy watched the floor numbers change. Sublevel 3, sublevel 2, sublevel 1. Ground floor. The doors opened. More guards. 6 of them. Weapons drawn. Agent Hayes stood behind them. That same cold smile on his face, Mr. Fletcher. "Going somewhere?" Roy said nothing. His mind raced. Looking for exits, options, anything. Hayes walked closer. "You know what is funny? We were not actually sure it was you. But then you just had to play hero. Had to try to rescue them, humans and their stupid sense of honor." Roy backed his cart up, blocking Hayes from getting closer. "Here is what happens now," Hayes continued. "You surrender. Give us the specimens, and maybe we let you live. In prison, of course, but alive." Roy looked at the guards, the weapons. The closed exit doors behind them, no way out unless... Starwing, Roy said quietly. "Remember what I taught you about the sprinkler system?" Inside the cart, he felt Starwing's understanding pulse through the bond. "Good. Do it now." Starwing focused its telepathic power on the fire suppression system above. The dragon had been practicing this trick for days. Moving small objects with its mind, the sprinkler activated. Water poured from the ceiling, drenching everyone. In the confusion, Roy grabbed his plasma cutter, aimed it at the floor, cut through the thin metal plating, into the maintenance tunnel below. He dropped his cleaning cart through the hole, heard it crash below. Then he jumped after it. Roy hit the ground hard. Pain shot through his legs. But he was alive. Above him, guards shouted. Footsteps running. Searching for access to the tunnels, Roy grabbed his cart, started running through the maintenance tunnel. Water dripped from his clothes. His lungs burned, but he kept moving. Because giving up was not an option. Not anymore. The maintenance tunnel stretched into darkness. Roy ran, pushing his damaged cart ahead of him. Water sloshed in his boots. His legs screamed in pain from the fall. But he could not stop. Behind him, he heard the guards breaking through access panels. Shouting coordinates. Getting closer. "Starwing," Roy gasped. "You both okay?" A weak chirp came from the cart. "Yes, but barely." Roy checked his mental map of the facility. These tunnels connected to the old subway system, abandoned 20 years ago when the new transport lines were built. If he could reach the subway, he could disappear into the underground network. A ladder appeared ahead. Roy grabbed it and climbed, one hand then the other, pulling himself up. Every muscle protested. He reached a heavy metal hatch, pushed it open, crawled through into an old subway station. Dust everywhere, broken lights, graffiti on the walls. Roy pulled his cart up after him. The hidden compartment had cracked during the fall. He could see Starwing and the Red Dragon inside. Both conscious, both frightened. Just a little further, Roy promised. He checked his communication device. One message from Diana. Where are you? Extraction point is hot. Guards everywhere, Roy typed back. Complications. Need new pickup location. Sending coordinates now. He studied his position. They were 2 miles from docking bay 7. Too far to walk with an injured dragon. Too dangerous with hegemony guards searching everywhere. Roy made a decision. He opened the cart compartment fully, pulled out both dragons. Starwing could fly now, tired but capable. The Red Dragon could not. Starwing. Can you carry your sibling? The dragon looked uncertain. I try. Starwing was still small. The Red Dragon was smaller but still heavy. But there was no choice. Starwing grabbed the Red Dragon with its claws. The two of them lifted off the ground, wobbling, unstable but airborne. Follow me, Roy said. Stay low. Stay quiet. He ran through the subway tunnel. The dragons flew behind him, slow, struggling, but together. They emerged from the tunnel into an old access junction. Above them, street level. Roy could hear sirens, vehicle engines. Searchlight sweeping. He pulled out his device again, sent coordinates to Diana. 5 blocks east. Underground loading dock. Can you reach it? Negative. Too many patrols. But I have another idea. Stand by, Roy waited. Every second felt like an hour. The dragons landed beside him. Starwing was exhausted. The Red Dragon barely conscious. Diana's message came through. Change of plans. I am sending someone to you. Trust him. His name is Raven. Roy had never heard of Raven, but he trusted Diana. No choice. 3 minutes later, a figure dropped down from a ventilation shaft above. Tall, thin, wearing all black, face covered by a mask. You Fletcher? The voice was young. Maybe 20 years old, yes. I am Raven. Diana sent me. We need to move now. Raven pulled out a small device. Holographic projector. He activated it. Suddenly, Roy looked different. Younger, different face, different clothes. Holographic disguise, Raven explained. Military grade. Will fool most scanners for about an hour. He handed similar devices to Roy. Put these on the creatures. Roy attached the devices to both dragons. Starwing became a small repair drone. Common sight in the city. The Red Dragon became a toolbox, simple, forgettable, smart, Roy admitted. I specialize in extractions. Now follow me. Walk normal. Do not run. Act like you belong here. They climbed up to street level through a maintenance access. Emerged onto a busy street. Despite the late hour, people moved everywhere. Night workers, bar crowds, street vendors. Raven walked confidently. Roy followed with the disguised dragons. Nobody looked twice. Just workers heading home after a long shift, but Roy noticed the hegemony patrols. Black vehicles, armed soldiers, checking faces, scanning crowds. A patrol stopped them at an intersection. ID check, the soldier said. Raven handed over a card without hesitation. The soldier scanned it, looked at his tablet. Then at Raven. You work at the power station? Third shift maintenance. We just fixed a junction box on 7th Street. The soldier looked at Roy. And him? My assistant, new guy. Still learning the routes. The soldier scanned Roy's holographic disguise. It held. He nodded and waved them through. Roy breathed again. They kept walking. 4 blocks later, Raven led them down an alley, behind a restaurant, through a hidden door, into a storage room. Diana waited inside. She looked relieved. About time, Roy wanted to collapse, but he stayed standing. We made it. Barely. Diana gestured to a large crate. Get in, all of you. What? My ship is 3 blocks away, but we cannot walk there. Too many patrols, so we go through the delivery system. Roy understood. The city had an automated cargo delivery network. underground conveyor belts and tubes, moving supplies between businesses. He and the dragons climbed into the crate. Raven sealed it. Roy heard the box being lifted, placed on a conveyor, then movement. Inside the dark crate, Roy finally let himself relax. Just for a moment, Starwing pressed against him. The red dragon breathed steadily. Both alive, both safe. For now. The crate moved through the delivery system for 10 minutes, then stopped. Roy heard the seal breaking. Light poured in. Diana and Raven pulled them out. They were in a ship cargo bay. Diana's freighter, an old military transport converted for civilian use, fast, heavily modified. "Welcome aboard the Broken Arrow," Diana said. "Not much to look at, but she flies." Roy carried the red dragon to a medical station. Diana had basic equipment, enough to treat the burns, give fluids, make the dragon comfortable. Starwing watched anxiously as Roy worked. "Will my sibling live?" "Yes, just needs rest, food, time to heal." Starwing's scales flickered through colors: relief, gratitude, joy. Diana started the ship engines. "Everyone strap in. We are leaving Atmo in 2 minutes. Hegemony patrol ships are searching the orbital space. This will get rough." Roy secured both dragons and padded seats, then strapped himself in. The ship lifted, smooth at first, then the acceleration hit. Roy felt pressed into his seat. His vision blurred. Diana flew like a demon, weaving between buildings, skimming rooftops, then straight up. The ship broke atmosphere. Stars appeared. Black space, freedom, but freedom was temporary. "We have 3 patrol ships on intercept course," Diana announced. "Hold tight." The ship shook as Diana made a hard turn. Evasive maneuvers. Roy heard weapons fire. Energy blasts streaking past the hull. "Can we outrun them?" Roy asked. "Maybe, if they do not have reinforcements." Diana pushed the engines harder. The ship groaned, complaining, but it held together. One patrol ship got close, too close. Its weapons locked on. Then it exploded. Roy stared. "What just happened?" Diana smiled. "I called in a favor. Look portside." Through the window, Roy saw another ship. Bigger, meaner, military design. But flying no flag. Who is that? Friends. People who hate the hegemony as much as we do. They will cover our escape. The mystery ship engaged the patrol ships, drew them away, gave Diana space to run. She activated the faster-than-light drive. Space bent, stars stretched, then jump. The ship entered hyperspace. Safe, away from hegemony territory. Roy unbuckled, checked on the dragons, both sleeping now. Exhausted but alive, Diana joined him. "You did good, Roy, really good. It is not over. 2 more dragons still out there." "I know. We will get them. But first we need to reach Deep Rock 7. That is where the second dragon is held. 3 days travel at current speed." Roy nodded. 3 days. Time to rest, plan, prepare. He sat beside the sleeping dragons. Starwing stirred slightly, moved closer to Roy. The bond pulsed with warmth and trust. Roy thought about his old squad again. The people he could not save. But this time was different. This time he was succeeding. Diana brought him food, coffee. He ate without tasting anything. "You know this is bigger than just rescuing dragons," Diana said. "The hegemony has been experimenting on dozens of species. Creating biological weapons, slaves, tools. Someone needs to expose them. Stop them. And that someone is us? Looks like it." Roy laughed, tired, bitter. "A janitor, a smuggler, a kid named Raven, and 2 injured dragons, against the most powerful organization in the galaxy. When you put it that way, sounds impossible. It is impossible." Diana grinned. "Good thing we specialize in impossible." Raven appeared from the cockpit, removed his mask. He was younger than Roy thought, baby-faced, nervous eyes. "I set the ship on autopilot. We should reach Deep Rock 7 in 70 hours. Get some sleep," Diana told him. "All of us. Tomorrow we start planning the next rescue." Roy found a bunk, small, uncomfortable, but it felt like luxury after the last few hours. Starwing crawled in beside him. The dragon had never slept alone, always stayed close to Roy. "We saved one," Starwing whispered. 2 more remain. We will get them. "I promise, and you always keep promises." Roy closed his eyes. Sleep came quickly. But even in sleep, his mind was planning, thinking, preparing for what came next, because this was just the beginning. Deep Rock 7 looked like a nightmare made of metal. Roy stared at the mining station through the ship viewport. Massive, industrial, built into an asteroid. Thousands of workers extracting rare minerals for hegemony factories. And somewhere deep inside, another dragon waited. Diana had spent 2 days studying the station layout, security patterns, worker schedules, guard rotations. The plan was complex, risky, maybe suicidal, but they had no choice. The dragon is held in the research wing, Diana said. Section 9, maximum security. They are studying its telepathic abilities, trying to weaponize them. Roy felt sick. Weaponize, that word. Always that word with the hegemony. Starwing and the red dragon, now called Ember, stood beside Roy. Both had recovered strength during the journey. Ember could fly again. Speak. The burns were healing. I will feel my sibling when we get close, Starwing said. Guide us to exact location. The problem is getting inside, Diana continued. The station has military-grade security, face scanners, biometric locks, armed patrols every 50 meters, Raven spoke up. I can hack the security system. Give us a 30-minute window, but only 30 minutes. After that, alarms trigger automatically. 30 minutes to get in. Find the dragon. Get out, Roy shook his head. Not enough time. It has to be enough, Diana said, because we are not getting a second chance. They prepared for 6 hours. Checking equipment, weapons, escape routes. Roy felt like he was back in the military. Planning missions, calculating risks, but this time felt different. This time he was not following orders. He was choosing to fight. The Broken Arrow docked at Deep Rock 7 at shift change. Maximum confusion. Perfect timing. Roy, Diana, and Raven wore mining worker uniforms. Holographic disguises made them look like regular employees. The 2 dragons were hidden in equipment cases. Disguised as scientific instruments, they passed through the first checkpoint easily. ID badges worked. Faces scanned correctly. Guards barely looked at them. Inside the station, the noise was overwhelming. Machinery, drilling, thousands of workers moving, shouting, the perfect cover for a rescue mission. They took a service elevator down, level after level, deep into the asteroid, away from the public areas. Toward the research wing, Raven's hacking device worked perfectly. Doors opened when they should not. Cameras showed empty corridors when there were people walking. Security systems blind. 15 minutes used, Raven said. We need to move faster. They reached Section 9. Heavy doors. Armed guards. This was the final barrier. We go loud now, Diana said. She pulled out a weapon. Small but powerful. Electromagnetic pulse gun. She fired at the guards. Both dropped unconscious, not dead. Diana was not a killer unless necessary. Roy used his plasma cutter on the door. Took 3 minutes, too long. But finally the lock gave way. Inside, a corridor. More cells. More cages. More suffering. Starwing's scales turned bright blue. Excitement. Here. My sibling is here. They ran down the corridor. Checking each cell. Most were empty. Some held creatures Roy did not recognize. Things that should not exist. Genetic experiments, abominations. The hegemony's crimes were worse than he imagined. Cell 17. Starwing stopped, pressed against the door. Inside, a dragon. Larger than Starwing or Ember. Adult-sized. Its scales were pure white. Like snow, like starlight. But its eyes were empty. Broken. Roy's heart sank. No. He opened the cell. Stepped inside. The white dragon did not move. Just stared at nothing. What did they do to you? Roy whispered. Starwing and Ember entered the cell. Pressed their heads against their sibling. Making soft sounds. Trying to communicate. The white dragon blinked slowly. Then focused. Looked at Starwing. Recognition flashed in its eyes. Alive, the white dragon whispered. You are alive. Yes, we all are. And we are leaving. Together. But the white dragon shook its head. Cannot. They put device in my head. Control device. If I leave this room, it explodes. Roy felt cold. Show me. The white dragon turned its head. Roy saw the scar. Recent surgical. Something was embedded under the scales. I can remove it, Roy said. No time, Diana called from the corridor. We have 8 minutes left. Guards are coming. Roy pulled out his plasma cutter. Hold still. This will hurt. He worked fast. Precise cuts, careful. The device was small, sophisticated, designed to kill if tampered with, but Roy had disabled bombs before. In the military, different technology, same principles. He found the power source, cut the right wire. The device went dark. Got it. He pulled the device from the dragon's head, tossed it aside. The white dragon gasped, then stood shaky but free. Can you fly? I think so. Good, because we are running. They left the cell, started back toward the elevator, but alarms blared. Red lights flashed. We are out of time, Raven said. Security override failed. Lockdown initiated. Blast doors slammed shut ahead of them, behind them, trapping them in the corridor. Alternative exit? Roy asked. Diana checked her map. Maintenance shaft. 2 corridors back. Leads to the mining tunnels. From there we can reach the docking bay. They ran. Guards appeared. Weapons firing. Diana returned fire. Roy shielded the dragons with his body. A blast hit Roy's shoulder. Pain exploded through his arm, but he kept moving. They reached the maintenance shaft. Roy forced the cover open. Everyone dropped through. The tunnel was narrow, dark, but it led away from the guards, toward safety. They crawled through for 5 minutes. Roy's arm throbbed. Blood soaked his uniform, but he ignored it. The tunnel opened into a mining cavern, huge, full of equipment and workers. Civilians looked at them, confused, scared. Go back to work, Diana shouted. This does not concern you, but it did concern them, because hegemony guards poured into the cavern from every entrance, dozens of them, armed, armored, and leading them was Agent Hayes. End of the line, Mr. Fletcher. Roy and his group stood back to back, surrounded, nowhere to run. Hayes walked closer. Weapon aimed at Roy's head. You caused significant damage. Freed 2 specimens. Disrupted multiple facilities. Very impressive. Very stupid. Let the dragons go, Roy said. Take me, I am the one you want. Oh, I want you. But I want them more. Do you know what a Draconis stellaris is worth? What their genetic material can do? They are worth more than your entire planet. Starwing growled. Small, but defiant. We are not things. We are people. Hayes laughed. Things do not decide what they are, people do. And we have decided you are property. The white dragon stepped forward, weak, but standing tall. My name is Silversong. I am eldest of my siblings. And I remember. Remember what? Everything. I remember when your kind was young, barely crawling from your world. We helped you, guided you, gave you knowledge, and this is how you repay us. With cages. With pain. Hayes aimed his weapon at Silversong. Enough talking. But before he could fire, something changed. The mining workers stood up. All of them. Hundreds of people. Moving toward the guards. What are you doing? Hayes demanded. Get back to work, a worker spoke. Old man, scarred hands. No, we heard everything. We know what you do here. What you hide in Section 9, we are not part of this. Another worker joined him. Then another. Then dozens. They formed a wall between the guards and Roy's group. Stand aside, Hayes ordered, or you will be charged with obstruction. Then charge us all, the old man said. We are tired of the hegemony, tired of the experiments, the lies, the cruelty. Today it ends. Hayes looked uncertain. He could not shoot hundreds of civilians. Even the hegemony had limits. Diana saw the opening. Now move. Roy and his group ran. The workers covered them, creating chaos, blocking the guards. They reached the docking bay. The broken arrow waited. Engines already running. Everyone boarded. Diana hit the launch sequence. The ship lifted. Guards fired, but too late. The broken arrow accelerated. Out of the docking bay, into space. Patrol ships pursued, but Diana was ready. She activated weapons she had installed during the journey. Military-grade missiles. Hold on. The ship twisted, fired. One patrol ship exploded. Then another. The third retreated. Diana activated the FTL drive. Space bent. Jump, they were safe. Roy collapsed in his seat. His wounded shoulder finally getting attention. Diana bandaged it while Raven piloted. The 3 dragons sat together. Starwing, Ember, Silversong reunited free. 3 down, Starwing said. 1 remains, Roy nodded. 1 more dragon. 1 more rescue. But this time felt different. This time they had an army. Those workers who stood up. They would spread the word. Tell others. The hegemony's secrets were coming out. The last dragon, Silversong said. It is in the outer colonies. Planet called Haven's End. Most heavily guarded facility in hegemony space. Of course it is, Roy muttered. Diana smiled. We will need help. Real help, ships, soldiers, people willing to fight. Where do we find that? I know some people, rebels, outcasts, those who hate the hegemony. They have been waiting for someone to make the first move. To show that the hegemony can be beaten. Roy looked at the dragons, at his injured arm, at the damaged ship. Then let us show them. Over the next few weeks, Diana made contacts, sent messages, shared recordings of what happened at Deep Rock 7. The workers standing up, the hegemony's crimes exposed. People responded. Ships arrived, volunteers, ex-military civilians, even some aliens whose species had suffered under hegemony rule. An army formed, small, poorly equipped, but determined. And at the center of it all, a former janitor and 3 dragons, an unlikely group that changed everything. The message spread across the galaxy. The hegemony could be fought, could be beaten, could be exposed. Hope was contagious, and Roy Fletcher, who once wanted only peace and quiet, became the symbol of resistance, because sometimes protecting one small creature leads to saving millions. Sometimes one choice changes everything.